Hello nursery, how are you? I hope you're all really well. Now today we're going to look at alliteration for our phonics lesson. We are going to use the same song as last week about making silly soup. Now we used that for rhyme last week. Do you remember? Those two words that sound the same. They're like copying their sounds. We would have cat, bat, rat, hat, cake, snake, egg, leg. Just like this, we've got an egg and a peg. So you would have put those two objects inside your mixing bowl and mix them all up to make silly soup. Today we're going to have a go at making silly soup, but we are going to use it for alliteration. Oh, that's a big word, isn't it? Alliteration. Alliteration is when you look at a word and the two sounds at the start sound the same. So it's the first sound in a word. If you were thinking of sausages, you would hear the s sound. Then you'd have to find some other words that start with the s sound. So it's all the words that have the same sound, the first letter, the first sound you hear. Sausages, sizzling, silently. Sausages, snake, sunshine, sand. They all have the s sound. Baking, bats, balls, bread. They all start with that same b sound. We are going to look at alliteration today based on your own name. So Mrs. French was thinking of her name, Mrs. French. Really got two names there, haven't I? But we don't worry about the Mrs. We just think about French because that's my name. French. Can you hear that sound? French. French. That's right. We're looking today at the f sound. Remember that floating fish? You're squeezing the air out as you say that sound. F, f, f. So I've been on a hunt around my house. I've had a good look. And I've been hunting for things that start with the f sound. Your job is to have a little hunt around your house and find items, toys, anything you can find that has the same sound as your name. Either it's a b, a k, d, ch, f. Have a go and see if you can find items, toys that start with the same sound as your name. So Mrs. French has been busy and I found a flower this morning. Flower. And, I don't know if you can see it, very small, tiny, little frog. Frog. Can you see this one? What do you think that is? Let's see it. It used to be in a bird, a peacock bird. It's a feather. Feather. And then the last one I found today, which we all know what this is, the fork. Can you say fork for me? Fork. So we've got fork, French, feather, frog, flower. And I've collected ready my mixing bowl and spoon. And in here, you can see I've just got some pasta in here, just to make it a little bit more messy and fun playing with alliteration silly soup today. If you want to add a little bit of real food into it, don't forget you can use some rice, pasta, lentils, anything you can find at home, sand, soil if you want to, something you can play with in there, mixing it up and making lots and lots of silly soup. So, we are going to have to learn our silly soup song. Hopefully you can remember it from last week. If not, let's have a quick practice now. Remember, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to make a silly soup. I'm making soup that's silly. I'm going to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. Join in with me this time, nursery. I will attach these words to your home learning PowerPoint so you have them at home for mums and dads as well. I'm going to make a silly soup. I'm making soup that's silly. I'm going to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. Now that does sound silly, doesn't it? Do you want to try it once more to keep that song in your head? I'm going to make a silly soup. I'm making soup that's silly. I'm going to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. Well done, nursery. Hope you enjoyed singing that one. So into my big mixing bowl, before I mix it up, we're going to add an item that starts with a f sound. So I'll have to find my f items and get ready to sing a song. Okay, the first one that's going in. Can you remember this one? Shout it out for me. It's a, that's right, it's a flower. So putting it in my mixing bowl and singing that song. Just about fits in there, doesn't it? I'm going to make a silly soup. I'm making soup that's silly. I'm going to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. What else did we find? Can you think of one of those other words? That's right, a feather. 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 Let's try and sing our song again and add it into the bowl. I'm going to make a silly soup. I'm making soup that's silly. I'm going to put it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. Brilliant. One more can we find? Can you remember what this one is? Say it out loud for me. That's it. It's a frog. Frog. Putting it into our bowl and singing that song. I'm going to make a silly soup. I'm making soup that's silly. I'm going to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. So we've got flower, frog, feather. Last one. The fork. Can you say fork for me? Fork. Let's put it into our bowl, mix it up and sing our song. I'm going to make a silly soup. Soup is nice and silly. I'm going to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. I think I got those words wrong then, didn't I, nursery? Can you join in and help me this time? I'm going to make a silly soup. I'm making soup that's silly. I'm going to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. That's better. I knew you could help me. Shall we do it once more? And then we're going to say all those words with the f sound. I'm making lots of silly soup. I'm making soup that's silly. I'm going to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. And the f sound in alliteration soup today is fork. Flower, tiny little frog, and the last one in there is the feather. Now your little challenge is to go off and make your own silly soup. Make it rather silly. Don't forget to cook it in the fridge and make it nice and chilly. See if you can learn the sound of your name. Mix it up and put it in your silly soup bowl. Maybe you could ask your mums and dads to write your name on a word card. Then you can have a look at the letter shape that starts your name. B, A, K, D, S, T, R. Have a look at the sound. If you're not sure that sound, don't forget to check out those Jolly Phonics songs and have fun making lots and lots of silly soup. Bye!